I was about 4 or 5 years old when this happened, not long after my parents had separated. My mom had moved into a 2-bedroom apartment, and though I had my own room, I usually slept in her bed whenever I stayed with her. It made me feel safer, I guess. The 2 bedrooms were at the end of a hallway, directly across from each other. The apartment was on the ground floor, and I remember it being the middle of summer. Mom liked to keep the window open in her room to let in some fresh air. It was right above the headboard of her bed. That night I woke up for no particular reason. At least I didn't think there was a reason at the time. I sat up, rubbing my eyes, and noticed our cat. He was sitting in the doorway of my mom's room. That struck me as odd because he usually slept curled up at the foot of our bed. As I watched him, he suddenly got up and padded into my bedroom, which was just across the hall. He let out a soft meow before disappearing through the door. I frowned and turned toward my mom. Something about the way the cat had acted made me uneasy, so I shook her shoulder to wake her up. It didn't take long, 3 or 4 seconds maybe, but when she groggily asked what was wrong, I turned back toward the door to point at the cat. That's when I saw him, a man. He was standing in the doorway, halfway out of my bedroom, as if he'd just stepped out. My heart felt like it stopped, and I couldn't make a sound. I just stared, frozen in place. I felt my mom stiffen beside me. She had seen him too. Before I could even process what was happening, she acted. In a blur, she scooped me up and threw me out of the window behind the bed. The screen popped off with a loud snap, and I tumbled onto the grass outside. It was only a 3-foot drop, but it still knocked the wind out of me. A moment later, my mom climbed out after me, barefoot and frantic. She grabbed my hand and we started screaming for help. The night felt endless, but eventually someone heard us and called 911. The police arrived quickly and checked the apartment. They didn't find any signs of forced entry, though. The front door was unlocked, which they assumed was how the man had left. But my mom was adamant. She had locked the door that night, using both the deadbolt and the chain lock. She was sure of it. The officers were kind, but I could tell they didn't know what to make of it. They suggested that maybe she'd forgotten to lock the door, or that the chain lock hadn't been properly latched. But my mom wouldn't budge. She knew what she'd done. For days after, she was on edge. She double-checked every lock in the apartment before going to bed. She even wedged a chair under the doorknob at night, just to be safe. I was scared too, but as a kid, I didn't fully grasp how serious the situation was. I just wanted things to go back to normal. About a week later, my mom was cleaning the kitchen. I was playing nearby when I heard her let out a sharp gasp. I ran over, and she was standing in front of the water heater closet, her face pale. She'd opened the door to find a small notebook sitting on the shelf. Inside were names, strange drawings, and random scribbles. There was also a pair of gloves and some crumpled gum wrappers. The sight of it made my stomach turn. It was like proof that the man had been there, not just in the hallway, but in our apartment, in our space. The police came again when my mom called, but there wasn't much they could do. They took the items as evidence, but without knowing who the man was or how long he'd been in the apartment, they could only speculate. One officer suggested that the man might have entered earlier in the evening and hidden somewhere, waiting for us to fall asleep. The thought made my skin crawl. Had he been watching us? Listening to us? How long had he been there? The idea that someone had invaded our home, my safe place, was something I couldn't shake. My mom tried to stay strong for me, but I could tell she was scared. We both were. Eventually, we moved out of that apartment. It wasn't immediate, but it was clear that my mom didn't feel safe there anymore. I didn't either. Even now, years later, I think about that night, about how close he must have been, about the cat sitting in the doorway as if he knew something was wrong, about my mom's quick thinking and how she got us out before anything worse could happen. I'll never forget the way that man looked, standing there in the doorway. I never saw his face, just the outline of him, barely visible in the darkness. But the fear he left behind still lingers, a shadow that never quite fades. If you enjoyed this true chilling story, like and subscribe. Don't forget to comment down below and let us know if you also have a story to tell. Who knows, maybe we might as well tell yours. Thanks for watching. Until next time.